So, all of the creatures of Faerie have become creatures of myth, legends, and fantasy. We are not simply speaking of the fair-skinned occult gardener type of elves here. Sylphs, sprites, dragons, fire drakes, dwarves, gnomes, merfolk, nixies, pixies, leprechauns, unicorns. All of these are creatures of Faerie. Misunderstood beings that exist now only on the brink of human imagination. Yet, although there is a great fictional fantasy tradition of role-playing games and novels, there is also a true, authentic origin behind this tradition, and a reason for believing in these kinds of ideas. The main tenet of some of our previous videos, information on the Age of Faerie in ancient Europe, is concerned with the nature of genetic intervention, whether from a leading group of humanoids on Earth, a creator god, or some intermediary in between. Even selective reproduction, when used in the manner of the Elven-Ffayrie as a method of genetic preservation, is in and of itself genetic intervention. Genetics can also be altered through environmental adaptation, and adaptation is necessary for the survival of a species. That means for a species to eventually overcome a barrier that affects its livelihood, it will have to change something. Something about its actual being, something about what it is, something about its relationship with the external environment. That means for a species to overcome a barrier, this genetic intervention, at the very least, helps us in understanding some of the unresolved issues of human ancestry, since it is clear that the species has been manipulated and controlled in some form by some authority. As a science, anthropology has been unable to sufficiently answer the problems of human origins. Originally, the field was going to find an answer that would correlate with the Judeo-Christian Genesis, but at the time these goals were established, religion and science were actually at war with one another. So, instead of a God creates man, so man comes from a supreme and beautiful being, it somehow developed into man is a primitive ape who just got lucky. And Darwin and the rest of the scientists also failed to establish how that the Cro-Magnon and whatnot does not evolve but is bred out just entirely. They go extinct. There's still the remaining theory concerning the star origins of the Elves. There is certainly enough literary support for this within a paradigm that allows for aliens, interdimensional or interstellar beings. So if a human was able to put their pride aside for a moment, great wisdom might come from the acceptance of an advanced civilization or aspects of prehistoric man that exist beyond the mortal knowledge of history. Without accepting the possibility of a particular scientific paradigm or framework, cannot expect to see it or prove it. Usually, the expectations and rules of what we see and experience are programmed to that which we belong or are raised within, such as a social culture. So without looking beyond an existing boundary, achievements cannot be made.